Okay, in this video we're just going to have a look at how you can change this outer canvas or the application frame in Photoshop. So we've got a few different options for it, and the simplest way to do it is to come to this outside area and simply right click on here. So the default, depending on which version of Photoshop you're going to be on, is a kind of, in the newer versions, this kind of darker grey, so that's our default. We could come in, we can make that black if you want, which is more akin to sometimes how people like it in the kind of full screen kind of preview, which we'll show that in a minute as well. You've got this dark grey, which is just ever so slightly lighter than the default grey, medium grey, light grey. And then you can go custom. So, you know, if there's a colour you want, you come down to select custom colour. We'll go ridiculous and have red, and then you can change that to whatever you like. So if you prefer it to be more like a really light kind of color, you can have that, or you can just go back to your default. Nothing's set in stone there. You can change it whilst you're working to however you want it, essentially. So that's how you can change that outer part. And if you actually press the F key, it changes the sort of workspace to kind of almost like a distraction free as you keep going. So then, like I say, in the full screen, you do get this kind of black background anyway, but you can kind of cycle through those. The next way we could do it is that you can come up into here, you can go into settings, and you can go into the interface menu. And again, this is more like this is kind of like a color theme. So this changes the whole interface, not just the background. So if you're doing this, it's going to do sort of an entire UI change, which, some people kind of like it, some people don't. As you kind of come along here, it sort of starts to get more kind of, like the older vibes from Photoshop. You're getting kind of like more like Photoshop 5 and 6, and then it's almost as you come along here, you kind of notice that as the programs progress, the actual interface has just become darker. So again, you can change that in there if you want to. You can change highlights and things like that. So that's also an option too. And the final option, which I will switch between occasionally depending on what I'm doing, is to just completely remove this entire background. And to do that is pretty easy. It's just one of the window elements. So what you can do is you can just come into window, and then right at the bottom, even though these are alphabetical, it's in this section. So we've got application frame at the top. And if you actually uncheck this, you'll notice now that you've got sort of floating boxes now, and the actual whole frame has just sort of disappeared. And if we could drag that down to there, you can just see in the background, I'm just got Chrome open in the background, and that's what you can see back there. So as I say, sometimes it can be useful because I can kind of resize things over the top of other programs that I'm working in. If I'm working in Illustrator or I've got an edit or something behind, sometimes I'll just want to see what's going on whilst I'm working on stuff. But you can, if you bring it back, you'll kind of see we're snapped back into, working in that kind of tabbed way over the top of this again. So yeah, you've got some options for how you want to work. And like I say, I tend to just change it depending on what I'm doing. But yeah, it's useful to know those things are there. So hopefully you found that helpful. If you have, give the video a like. If you want to see more Photoshop content like this, then please subscribe.